Alfred, so we talked about positioning. We know why it's important. But now we want to talk about how do you actually use this information? How do you be number one in your area?
All right. Well, number one, I mean, number two is good, but number one's fantastic.
Absolutely. And there's like a logarithmic actual change. Like I think number one on Google gets a multiple of what number two does. And I think, like, for example, with ice cream, like I think the most popular ice cream is vanilla, and I think that's maybe like 70% of people want that. Then chocolate is like number two, and that's maybe 20%. It's never stepped.
Look at horse racing. I mean, the horse who wins, who might be like a nose in front, gets 10 times the prize money.
Winner takes all. So it's important to make sure, if you're going to be in business, if you're going to be trusting your livelihood and your life to making sure that your business provides you with what you want, and you want to provide the very best service you can do for your customers, it's your duty to make it the best you possibly can do.
Right. And to take a position, create a position, defend it from competitors and from other distractions in the mind of the customer.
Yes.
You know? So when they have that problem, they might not even be clear about the problem, but when they have it, you're the gleaming neon sign that flashes in their mind.
So like Peter Drucker says, the only purpose of a business is to create and retain a customer. The customer is the only profit center in a business. So it all starts with the customer. It's not about you, it's about them.
What's the reason you're in business?
Absolutely. What's the problem they're walking around with? Where are they walking around? Where are they looking?
Right.
That's where it starts. Understanding in detail the needs, wants, hopes, desires of that customer. You got to know their psychographics and also their demographics. So what do they think? What do they hope for? How do they decision make? What do they associate with? Plus at the same time, where are they? How can you get to them? What other things would they potentially like, and how could I reach them?
Right. And so essentially getting that message, your important message, not so much aggrandizement, okay, but you are number one in getting that message to them, breaking through the clutter and getting through to them.
In multiple ways. So it's imagining you're looking down at Liverpool Street Station, you see all these people, a sea of people just walking around. You couldn't know out of the 1,000 people there which 70 had the problem that you were able to solve.
Right.
But with the right positioning and with the right messaging and knowing some things about maybe what they read, where they go, what they see, what kind of network they're on, anything like this, it's almost like being able to press an invisible button and then arrows just fly and then reach them with the postcard or with the message that is right for them.
Right. And
then they call you. So we're not talking about chasing, we're talking about attracting.
Attraction. That's powerful right there. So how do we attract what we call our target market?
Okay, so we need to know first of all who they are, but what is the problem in their head? What's the question going on in their head? And then you need to know the message to reach them. You need to go into a bit more detail with that, but let's just start with that for now. And then how to reach that target market. So you want to break through the clutter because you are part of that clutter, but if you've got a really personalized, tailored message for that person, and then you're able to deliver it.
And the message is solving a problem. So
that they have.
So how would we how do we know the problem that's floating around in our
Let's say they're looking to move, okay? The question could be like, do you know how much your house is worth?
Okay.
An even better one would be, do you know how much your house in Rickmansworth is worth? Or an even better one is, do you know how much your house in this street in Rickmansworth is worth? Because, for example, if you sent a postcard to all the people in Rickmansworth on a certain street, which was personalised to that street, and say, like, your neighbour just sold his house, do you know how much yours is worth?
Right.
If somebody there was thinking of moving, that's targeted.
Because it's relevant to them.
Absolutely. Yeah. And if they are thinking of moving now, they'll be like, okay, who are these people?
And it might get the greed glands working.
It gets their interest and their attention because it targets and relates to them improving their life. So that's the main thing. So as I say, you've got to craft the message, and generally it's good to kind of use words which relate to the problem or solution. Like Google or like, for example, Dyson or Kleenex. These are like...
Interestingly, you said Google, you said Dyson, you said Kleenex, right? Yeah. There are other companies in their category.
Yes.
But guess what? They're number one. in their niche.
They turned their brand name into a verb for that thing or that or noun for that
Because
thing.
instantly, you know, if I say to you, "Oh, I'm going to Google it," I don't even have to mention it's a search engine.
But the thing is, but you actually are you could be Googling it in inverted commas on a different search engine.
Yeah, but I can't say to you, "I'll Alta Vista it."
No, correct.
You'll
correct.
say, "Oh, what are you talking about?"
Correct. I agree with you. So it's important to make sure that you can. If you don't have the resources that Google have,
Right.
you want to just make it very clear, like fast dry clean or whatever it is that people know what you offer.
Right.
And then, as I say, if you were like say fast dry clean, then everything you talk about is fast. Your positioning is fast.
Well, that goes back to the problem. The easiest way to do that, the most effective way, I won't say it's easy, the most effective way to do that is to get to the heart of the problem.
Yes, so the problem would then be they're time starved, they don't have the ability to do things.
Because I only care about me.
Absolutely. And so you want to then, if you know that, okay, so I'm dealing with time-starved professionals, so where they're going to be? They're going to be coming back from work late. They're going to be reading the paper in the evening. They're going to be coming back when things are dark. And you want to make sure you can then target them at the specific times, in the specific locations. They'll read certain things. They'll go to certain places for their haircut, all these sorts of things. So you can then target them in multiple ways. You need a multi-channel approach. You need to basically...
Why do you need a multi-channel?
Because our attention is so fragmented.
Right.
We are not looking at one thing.
Cluttered.
Yeah, and you look at TV now, you look at YouTube adverts, it used to be 4 seconds and you can skip it. Now they're making some 30-second ones compulsory because people know that like they're not watching television.
You know, sometimes I think about it like with war, okay? If you've got, let's say we've got a common enemy,
Yeah.
okay? Now there's many ways to actually win the war. And we attack them by sea, we attack them by air, we attack them on the land. You know, we get behind enemy lines and attack them with secret agents. So how are you reaching that point in your customer's mind?
It has to be simultaneous and it has to be like in different places. And there's like a way that people come to awareness. It's like they call it the moment of truth, where basically they've seen you multiple times. So if you ask the customer, how did you hear about us? They'll tell you the last thing they saw.
Right.
But if you actually question them about it, they'll be like, actually, it was here I heard about you. I saw you on Facebook and then I read about you on your guide and then I Googled you.
Right.
It's a process.
And that's where the consistency comes in.
Yes, and that's also knowing all the places there will be. Because imagine, okay, so the people that were trying to target innocent smoothies, innocent smoothies were trying to break into the supermarkets, and they know that to break into Waitrose, Asda, and all this kind of stuff. Actually, it's like 5 people you need to target because they're the buyers. So what they did was they found out where those buyers lived. They bought the billboards within their local areas, and then they therefore surrounded themselves so that they look like a national brand, even though they only bought 5 billboards.
Fantastic.
So then when they call them, they're like, yeah, we've seen your advertising campaign. That will fit well with our national rollout strategy.
See, because most people, they get intimidated by marketing or getting their message out there. They think that they've got to do it either big or not do it at all. But you can be on a, just like you said, in a tiny area.
Targeting.
Right, targeting.
It's not about activity for activity's sake. You know, just opening your window and just throwing things out the window. What are the chances of hitting something?
Right.
So it's, again, knowing who you want to target, knowing what your message is, and as I say, by just positioning in all the ways that we've been talking about, so that your message will then deliver to them in the way that they can understand and receive it and be attracted to it, through multiple channels and multiple ways. So online, video, articles, audio, postcards.
And the reason for the targeting as well is because unlike a large company, we've got limited resources.
Yeah.
As small businesses, so it's important that, you know, we've only got so many bullets in our 6-shooter.
Yeah.
You know, so if we've got 6 bullets, we better make sure those bullets count.
Yeah, you need a clear message, and you need to then very directly target it, as you said. So getting your maximal impact using multiple tools and building your trusted, consistent message across multiple channels.
Okay, so we know what we've got to do. We know we've got limited resources, right? What now?
You need a strategy, okay? So you need to deliver the right message to the right market across multiple media, multiple channels over time.
Right. So we're going to take our resources and we're going to put them in places so that the overall goal, which is those target markets, start flooding through our door, is achieved.
So you need to build a reservoir of trust. You need to build...
Reservoir of trust, okay.
Yeah, so you need to... I'm talking about using leverageable assets. I'm not talking about disposable. So I'm talking about, for example, if you sent out a load of flyers, just cold with the offer buy now, you've spent money.
Too generic.
Some people will buy, but out of the percentage of people that will buy, they've done the surveys that maybe like 6% or something like that are open to buying within the next 30 days, maybe even less than that. And then maybe like 10% are probably open to buying within at some point, and then you lose a lot of the kind of thoughts there.
So you're talking more in terms of we've got to kind of set a relationship.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so you don't create a relationship with one-off. One night stand doesn't work. You need to have somewhere for them to go to learn more about you, and that's your reservoir of trust.
Well, that's you're almost saying like building a community.
It doesn't have to be a community. You're talking one-on-one with people, basically.
Okay.
So, but you have to build a base from which you can actually broadcast your message and encourage them to come back to.
Right.
So, rather than community, I use it like walled garden. You want to have a place whereby they feel safe, they feel it's good, and they want to kind of come and visit.
Right.
So within there, you've got to then have enough materials and enough trust and enough proof to allow them to then understand and interpret you as the solution for that problem. Because then you have a position.
Right. So problem, solution, and trusted expert.
Yes. And the trusted expert is trusted by multiple people. Then they'll be trusted in the media, they'll be trusted...
It spills out.
It spills out. And that's why by consistently... The heart of all of this is you have to authentically be what you say you are.
Right.
But unfortunately, in this day and age, being that is not enough.
But people want an expert. That's the thing.
Yes.
They want an expert.
Life's too busy. You want to know who to trust
Right.
and how to get there. So what you want to do is communicate clearly over all these different channels. So you want to be making sure that the people that are then looking for the problem, you got to look at like what else they're looking at for solutions, possible distractions, and make sure you've got messages in those places. You want to see what they're tweeting about. You want to see where they're searching. You want to have all these things and make sure you've got a little nugget or a little...
It's kind of like detective work.
It is detective work.
You know, but at the same time, it's protecting your investment, because if you have clients, you already have clients, customers. Okay, you've got to fence them in some way. They're going to other places. Other places are telling them we've got better advice. You know, trust us. So you kind of have to keep your antenna out and find out where else they're searching, what else they're doing, and their habits change as well.
Yeah, and the key thing is understanding why do they want the solution. What is the job this item was hired to do? So Clayton Christensen wrote a great book called The Innovator's Dilemma, and like he was hired by a fast food company to ask, they asked him, how can we make a better milkshake? And the first question he says, well, what's a better milkshake? What's the job the milkshake was hired to do? Okay. In order to make a better milkshake, we need to see what purpose it's solving and make it solve it better. So they watched an afternoon, and then basically there were some people, some single fathers taking their kid along and sitting with them, and they saw that the child was then sipping on the milkshake for an hour while the dad was talking. So it's a way to spend time without spending too much money. Wow. Because it's thick and and it was able to spend time. So they were looking, okay, so we can make it thicker, that's better, or make a narrower straw. That's a product invention, or which improve the outcome.
That's interesting you say that, like innovation, because sometimes you might already have a position, but to strengthen that position, it might require just a small tweak in innovation.
And that would make a massive difference, because then if you're saying, well, actually, I took my kid there and it lasted for an hour and a half, versus at this place it was only like for 20 minutes, then you may think, okay, I put more chocolate in so it's more milky, but actually they drink in 5 minutes.
Right.
So that's not a better milkshake as far as the parent's concerned. And there's other things like commuters. Some commuters were buying it because they would sip it on the hour drive to work, and they wanted something that was thick and interesting so they could have it. And they said, well, it's interesting when a bit of fruit or a bit of chocolate goes in, so if you make it more lumpy, I like that.
Wow.
So they liked that, and the fact that it was cold and it couldn't spill over and burn them like a coffee would.
Okay, so if you were a milkshake manufacturer, producer, you would have to choose between those two markets, right?
Well, I'd have two different distribution points, because obviously they're going to buy through a drive-through generally if they're going to be for the driving, and I'd have like a maybe drive special. You can have the commute milkshake special or something like this.
Now you're innovating on a distribution channel. So what other? How would you take care of the other market?
So the other one, then you would have, like, for example, like you could have another thing which also lasted for an hour. So you could have it. You could call it like the hour treats or something like this, or something like this around the time factor.
Oh,
so again, if you're truly testing different positions, these are guesses about what someone would buy.
But the market would dictate that, right?
Exactly.
You know how profitable it is.
So
how easy it is for you to deliver and sustain, maintain.
Yeah. So in the absence of a proven customer base which is buying a specific problem, you need to innovate and see what position would be stronger.
Right. And it's often it's such a better investment to innovate what you're already doing, because a lot of people they try and invent new things, but very often the solutions are underneath your nose.
Yeah, and people just want the fastest, easiest, lowest friction route to their outcome.
Right.
That's all they want. They don't even actually want to deal with you. They just want the solution done.
Right.
So how can you eliminate all friction from the activity, all time and hassle? They want that done. And that's where you can actually get this done. So you've got to basically put together a system so that you can communicate succinctly, concisely, and targeted with all of your target market simultaneously every day.
Right. Consistency. Goes back to that.
Consistency and targeting. That's how to be number one in your area.